Well, hello, and welcome back to Read Becca. We're back for a book haul today, and I think this is actually my first book haul of 2026. That seems wild, though it is typical that I kind of cluster my book buying into a few charity sales over the course of the year, and this was one of those. Though I really haven't been buying books or collecting books in any way because my shelves are kind of full. I need to be getting things off of the shelves, and I typically do sort of unhaul as I go. As I'm reading things, I get rid of things that are not new favorites. So that's part of my normal rhythm. However, I do need to make some more room on my shelves, and yet I bought things anyway. Mainly because my book club decided to meet up, and we actually went to a board game cafe that I was not familiar with nearby to the location of this book sale. It's a big area-wide book sale that takes over an entire gym every year, and it's massive, very, very inexpensive. So I got 9 books for $16, which is great. I think all of these are books that I had some knowledge of the author or their classics. In some way, I'm aware of the book, but I don't really read up on what the books are very heavily. So I'm not going to read the backs of the books. I'm just going to give you my knee-jerk reaction to why I picked up the book. That's what I find the most interesting and important to discussing my book hauling. And then I'll talk about them when I actually read them. So let's dive into the books I got. So the first is Frenchman's Creek by Daphne du Maurier. I read maybe a little over a year ago, Rebecca, for the first time and fell in love. I love Daphne du Maurier's writing, and so I just kind of want to grab anything I see of hers. This is a great, look at that gothic house on this lovely mass market paperback. So I kind of had to have this. I know she is the queen of suspense, and I don't need to know anything more than that about what this story is. The next one is an author I'm reading right now, so it was very front of mind. This is Less Than Angels by Barbara Pym. Pym is so interesting and witty. I'm reading Excellent Women at the moment as a long, slow buddy read, and this one sounds even more interesting because it is about anthropologists, I believe. It's like satirizing anthropology. So that sounds so fantastic, and I've loved Pym's writing so far of what I've read, so I just grabbed it based on her name. Now the next one I don't know a ton about, but I have seen multiple people talking about recently or in the past year, and that is Gift from the Sea by Anne Morrow Lindbergh. And this sounds really reflective and introspective, very calming. It's about seashells on the seashore, I think, but I also think it's about wisdom. And it's a tiny one. A lot of these are tiny. I kind of just went to one section and then spotted all of these tiny books clustered up together and just grabbed a bunch of them. So I don't remember other than that people have raved about this. Oddly, the back blurbs kind of make it sound more feminist than I was expecting from everything I've heard, but I will be intrigued to try Gift from the Sea. The next one is a classic, and that is The Sorrows of Young Werther by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. This is a tiny classic, and I love this cover. This is a great copy. I know nothing about this book other than Dia of Novel Idea reached out to me, I think at the end of last year, asking me, she put out her list of all the classics and stuff that she wanted to read this year and asked if I wanted to buddy read some. I went through, and this is one of the ones I picked. I don't remember why I picked. I did look at some of them that I didn't know. So something about this intrigued me, but I don't remember what it was. It is a shorty, and I picked it up just in time because our buddy read is scheduled for next month. So I will be looking forward to giving this a go. I don't think I've read any Goethe. Even Faust I have not read. So very, very curious about this one. And then one that feels nostalgic, but I have not ever read, is Howard's End by E.M. Forster. So I had to pick this up because I have seen the film so many times. It's such a ingrained part of my childhood, really. This is the Emma Thompson one. I love this story of kind of just the ending of Victorian society and all the social dynamics going on during that time, and just a changing society. I think is really a lot of what this book is about, but I haven't read it, so I'm super excited to have this and finally get to reading it. I feel like classics have been kind of calling me, some of those nostalgic ones that I either haven't read or haven't read in a long time. The next one, I really don't know what to think about because I don't know what this is. This is Monday or Tuesday, 8 Stories by Virginia Woolf. So I picked it up purely on Virginia Woolf's name. This is a little tiny though. How is this 8 stories? Because it feels like they're maybe like 8 pages. So I think these are very, very short stories, but I had to pick this up. It's a lovely little edition of these short stories by Woolf. I have not read anything but her nonfiction, so I'm really curious about that. And then the last 3 are kind of more modern books than those classics. So the first tier of the modern is Summers at Castle Auburn by Sharon Shin. I've only read one of Sharon Shin's books, and it was an urban fantasy, but she has a very, very strong, comforting vibe, I think. Not quite cozy. Like the one I read had a very significant sexual assault plotline to it, and yet there was this deep sense of support and comfort to it anyway. So it was a really smart, complex book, I would say. This one, I think, is more traditional fantasy, and you can see it's got that much more traditional fantasy vibe, but I also think this has a strong level of comfort and calming, not quite cozy, but cozy vibe to it. So I'm really excited to get to this one because Shin is an author I have wanted to read some more from. The next one is The Book of Strange New Things by Michel Faber. Faber is an author, yet again, that I know of, I've not read from, so I think this is actually one of the first that I've not read and isn't a classic here. But I hear great things, and this is kind of literary sci-fi, priests in space, I believe, and I'm so intrigued by that. I thought about doing a vlog for that a while back, and I'm still pondering it. So now that I have this, I might actually consider doing that vlog. But this is a really lovely little copy of it that I have not ever seen any paperbacks of this before. So I'm super thrilled to have this. I think this is going to be very thought-provoking sci-fi. And lastly, I got Louise Erdrich's Roundhouse. I have been or started a buddy read of the Love Medicine cycle by Louise Erdrich and have been absolutely adoring her writing. So she's an auto-buy. Anytime I see a copy of her work out in the wild, I pick it up if it's inexpensive at all. And this is just a really lovely, beautiful copy of this book in hardback I think I got it for $3. Yeah, $3. So this was my biggest swing on this purchase of all of the books. So it was well worth it though for a $3 hardback. And I'm sure I will love this. I think this is not from Love Medicine cycle. I think this is just a standalone. So I'm, as always, excited to have more Erdrich on my shelf because I will be devouring any of her work in the future. So that is my $16 for 9 books haul. I think I did pretty darn good, and I'm very, very happy with that haul. It's not going to take up too terribly much space on my shelf because I mostly got little tinies, and they're classics that I think are good shelf builders that will stay on my shelves rather than leaving them. So that is it for my haul. Let me know what you are excited for me to have picked up, what you want me to read and talk about in the immediate future. And as always, thank you so very much for watching.